welcome back to Animal-Based in Your Face. We're gonna cook some animal-based pot roast today. Why is it animal-based pot roast? Because we have squash and zucchini in place of your carrots and potatoes because they're high in carbs and potatoes are high in oxalates. We've got an onion, we've got some garlic, some good old beef bone broth, a little xanthium gum for our gravy later, some pink Himalayan salt. I found this recently. It's very fine, extra fine actually. Works great in recipes. We've got a nice, beautiful 3-pound chuck roast. Pretty marbled there. This is gonna be delicious right here. Now we just made a cornbread muffin recipe that's animal-based, no cornmeal, no flour, gluten-free. It's delicious, y'all. I mean, when you eat it with some butter, it tastes like you're cheating and you're not. We're gonna have this with our animal-based pot roast. We're gonna put it in our Instapot today. Let's get cooking. Okay, in our Instant Pot, we're going to start with the saute mode, and you want it to be on the more setting. And don't worry about the timer because we're not going to use that. But what we're going to do is get this hot, and we're going to brown our chuck roast. Now, I put salt on this a little bit earlier, and you can see how the salt's drawing out the moisture. You want to take a paper towel, and you want to kind of dab it. Now, if you don't do this with your steaks, you're doing yourself a disfavor because to get a good sear on meat, you want it to be dry. And then turn it over and do the same thing. Just kind of dry it off. And when this is hot, I'm probably going to cut this in two because it's going to need the space to get it squished in there. That's a pretty big roast. And I'm going to cut up my onion and I'm going to cut up my squash and zucchini. Now the onion I'm going to do just normal because it's going to go in there right after this and it's going to saute and kind of brown them. And then these will go in for the final cook. And I'm going to make these larger pieces because they're going to be in there with this chuck roast for an hour. And if you cut them too thin, they're just gonna fall apart in that hour time of pressure cooking. So let's put the chuck roast in there and brown it. And I'm gonna cut all this up and we'll be right back. All right, that baby is hot. Now we're going to set this in here. That's what you want. You want that sizzle. You want that sizzle. Down because you just want to brown it on both sides, and the reason for that is it seals in the juices, plus you're going to get that good brown bit that we're going to saute here in a minute that will make for an excellent gravy. All right, it is been on here for about 3 minutes, and we're going to flip it over. And you can see that it's got a good sear on the side. I'm gonna hold this one out so you can see with the steam. See there, you want that little bit of brown. Pull it back in there and sear the other side. Now this other side will take less time. It'll probably only take about 2 minutes. Make sure it's all down even. There you go. Alrighty, we are brown on both sides. We're gonna pull this baby out, put it on your plate, set to the side for just a minute. Now you've got that little bit of brown in there. Now we're gonna take our onion, and we're gonna put our onion this is going to be browning just a little bit, just to char these just a hair. Just let those sit there for about a minute. We'll be right back. While our onions are sauteing there, I'm going to go ahead and cut these up. Just cut the ends of them off. Now, like I said, these are going to be cooking for an hour with the roast. So you probably want to cut these about an inch thick, because if you cut them thinner, they're going to be really mushy, and after an hour of pressure cooking, there won't be much to them. So I'd probably say about an inch thick. I'm just going to cut those like that. And the squash just the same. And we're going to check on those onions. Oh yeah, see they're browning in there? Okay. That's what you want, is you want that brown color. Now what we're going to do is we're going to turn this off for just 1 minute. Okay, we're going to take these onions and we're just going to get them out and put them in a bowl. Now, we're not too afraid of onions. When we started the animal-based diet, the carnivore diet, we noticed a lot of people didn't use them, and I really don't know why. There's no oxalates in onions or garlic. They're both of the same family. So I really don't know why people don't use these more often. If anybody has some kind of reason behind it, I'd be more than happy to know, but I can't even see where even Paul Saladino, and that man knows everything, it seems like, has said anything about onions. Okay, so this is the brown part. Now what we're going to do now is, it's called deglazing. We're going to put that back in. We're going to put it back on the saute high mode. And we're going to pour a cup of this good old beef bone broth in there. So this is something that you can pick up from your grocery store. Not everyone has time to make bone broth naturally. Most of the bone broth we've tried is nasty. I mean, I couldn't even drink it. This, like it says on the label, is good enough to drink. It's really good. There's no artificial ingredients, no GMOs. It's gluten-free. It's good stuff. Even smells good. The other stuff kind of smelled funky. But we want to take a full cup of this and put it in here. And you want to let this simmer for 5 minutes. And what we're doing is two things. While it simmers on the high saute mode, it's going to start breaking up all this brown bits in the bottom from the meat and the onions. This caramelization is going to go, and you kind of use your spoon and scrape it around. It's going to go into this broth, and that's where your flavor comes from. And the second thing is, it's going to clean the bottom of your stainless steel pot so you don't have to work at it when you're done and you don't have a burnt on mess. So just let that simmer for 5 minutes and kind of take your wooden spoon and scrape around the bottom to kind of get that off the bottom and mix into your bone broth. And then we're going to put back our meat, our onions, and our fruits. These are fruits, y'all. They're not vegetables. They're fruits. Look them up. And then we're going to add a little garlic. And you can pepper to taste. And we're going to add a specific amount of salt, actually 1 teaspoon of salt. You can add more or less to your liking, but that's what we're going to add, and just a dash of pepper. We'll be right back. Okay, our deglazing is working great. You can see it's bubbling here, and you take your spoon, it just all this burnt on brown bit stuff and a little bit of onions, it all just kind of comes rubbing off. That will keep you from having to clean this pot so bad. Like I said, there's our 5-minute timer. So I like to add my spices in to the liquid part so that it's more evenly distributed. Computer, stop. So here's our salt. Like I said, we're just going to do just a couple of cranks of pepper. Now we're going to put our chuck roast back in there, like that. And we're going to dump our onion in there. Cover that baby up. And we don't want to miss any of them juices that came out of that. And we're going to dump all of this in there. And like I said, I cut these about 1 inch thick so that they will stay, you know, more edible like a potato or carrot would, so they don't just break down after this hour. High pressure cooking. So using fresh garlic, this is a clove, and we've got 6 of them right here from that fresh garlic pod. Like I said, you just want to kind of smash them a little bit, and then maybe give them a couple of chops. Just, you don't want to chop them up too fine, just kind of a coarse chop. So something like that right there. And then we're going to take that, put it on our knife, and we're going to put that in our pot roast. Now, we're going to put our lid on. Oh, I forgot, we need another cup of bone broth. 1 more cup. 1 cup for the deglazing purpose, and 1 cup to help the juices. All of our good stuff is in there. This is going to be yummy, guys. We're going to put our lid on. We're going to turn our valve over to tighten so that it keeps all of our pressure in. Then we're going to come down here. We're going to hit pressure cook. We've got 1 hour. You want it on the more setting, which is high. You want to turn off to keep warm, and it will start running on its own and start building pressure. Now, it may take 5 or 10 minutes to build pressure before this timer starts moving. So once it builds pressure, then the timer will go off. We let it do a natural release, and now we open the valve after 10 minutes to let all the rest of the pressure out. Okay, we're going to open it up and take a look. That looks yummy.
It's gonna be a delicious meal.
We got our roast and our fruit out on a plate. You can see this is just, look at that. I mean, it's just tender as can be. Delicious. Now, what we have left here in the pot is a few more of the onions and the squash, but this is the stuff you're going to make the gravy from. What you want to do is you want to take a strainer and a bowl, and you want to pour out all of this in there so that it catches all the rest of your pieces of fruit and onions, and you want to save the juice because we're going to make gravy out of that juice. So let's do that. See, there's a lot that... And I would just take this right here and throw it in and eat it. That's good stuff right there. But here is our juice. And we're going to take that over and put it in a saucepan. Take you a medium-sized saucepan, or the size that will fit the amount of juice that you retrieve from your Instant Pot. We're going to melt 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter. And when that gets melted, we're going to slowly pour this in, and we're going to get it to a simmering boil. All right, we've got our melted butter and our juice from the pot roast, and we've got it to where it's just a little simmering boil. You want to let this go for 10 minutes, and then we're going to add the xanthium gum.
Don't y'all love our puppies?
Okay, this has been simmering for 10 minutes. Give it a little stir there. And what we're going to do now is we're going to take this xanthium gum, and this is basically replacing cornstarch. And this is Simple Truth, it's all organic. And we're going to take 1/4 of a teaspoon to start out with. We're just going to sprinkle it in there. The reason I say start out with is you want to go from 1/4 and work your way, because different amounts of the liquid from different pot roast is going to be a little bit different. But if you start with the 1/4 and you whisk it and you let this simmer for another 5 minutes, and at that 5-minute time, if it's not to the thickness consistency that you want, you can add another 1/4. And then remember that when you take this off and it's not simmering and it starts to cool, it's going to get thicker. But this is going to make a delicious brown gravy to put on our pot roast. If you do, mashed potatoes, you're not worried about eating the oxalates, then this would make a great gravy for the mashed potatoes. There's all kinds of stuff you could put this on. We're going to let that get back to a simmering boil, and we'll check back in 5 minutes. All right, it's been 5 minutes after we added the xanthium gum. And as you can see, I just love these spoons. They're just so pretty. It's thick. It's still a little runny, but you got to remember, when this starts to cool off, when it's not boiling hot, it's going to get thicker. But you can see the thickness of it there. It makes a nice gravy. Now, if you want yours a little thicker than this, then you would add another 1/4 teaspoon of xanthium gum and let it go for another 5 minutes. You whisk it real good when you put that in there. But for us, this is going to be perfect. And what I'll do is I'm going to let this cool off for about 5 minutes, and then we'll come back and show you the video of how much it changes the consistency once it starts to cool off. Not when it's cold, but you're not going to eat this gravy boiling hot. Here is our gravy. It's cold, it's still warm. This would be the great temperature that you would put it on your pot roast, or if you made a side go with it. This is the thickness it turns out to be. Now, if you want it thicker than this, just add another 1/4 of a teaspoon of that xanthium gum and simmer it for another 5 minutes, and it will thicken up probably twice this thick. Thank y'all for watching. Be sure and subscribe. Click the little bell so you get all the notifications of our new videos that come out. We also have a Facebook channel called Animal Based in Your Face Tribe, where we answer questions there also and have private support.